Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me know, please, in the comments below if you can see us and hear us. And thank you so much for spending your evening with us. You can be anywhere else, and you have decided to join us in this Facebook Live. And so let me know, where are you tuning in from? Let me know, where are you tuning in from? We would love to engage with you. And we would love to know, where are you tuning in? What part of the nation or the world? Let me know. All right. Yes, we can. Thank you,
Girl.
awesome. So they can see us and hear us. Perfect, perfect. All right. So I am going to go ahead and just get started. If you are not logged in, it's fine. You can watch the recording, but I want to respect everybody's time, and I want to go and dive right in. So to start, I just want to share a little bit about who I am. If you don't know who I am, my name is Gliced Torres. I am a mother of two beautiful girls. I have an amazing and supportive husband. I am a full-time educator with a passion for financial literacy and math. I am also a financial consultant, and as a financial consultant, I help individuals and families prepare and protect their financial future, so that they can live and leave a lasting legacy. I have a bachelor's in business administration and accounting, so I've always been in the numbers and in the service, and I am so thankful to be able to present to you today this topic. And I have with me an amazing and special guest. She's my business partner and also my colleague, but I'm going to let her speak. Heather, tell us a little bit about you.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be on this call tonight. Thank you, Gliced, for inviting me to speak with you and partner up with you about this. It's so important. I'm a mother of three. I have two daughters and a son. And I am also an educator, and I've been teaching for over 20 years. Different topics, anything from physical education, which is my degree, but now I'm in social studies. I've taught math and science. And so it's really been great to learn all of the different nuances that our kids are learning at school and being able to participate in that and then extend some of my topics into things that are going to be more valuable to them as they grow. So I'm a financial consultant, also work with Gliced. And then I love helping people also take that a step further and organize their documents to make sure that they're prepared. So once you find out about what you're going to need, the next step would be to find out where things are. So we're just here to share some valuable information with you tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Heather. And also thank you for coming on. She was like, absolutely. And I was so excited because we connect in so many ways. So we want to start by diving in today. We're going to be talking about the path to a tax-free retirement. And all of this information, we're taking it from this book right here, The Power of Zero from David McKnight. This is a powerful, powerful book. If you have not read it, I recommend you get it. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. It is amazing, and it will prepare you with knowledge so that you can take the next steps. But the first thing you really need to understand before we talk about tax-free is the taxable bucket and the tax-deferred bucket, also known as qualified bucket. Why? Because this is what we're used to. This is what we know. And we're going to go in and dive in a little bit on what is this taxable bucket. And so, Heather, tell us a little bit about, what's the taxable bucket? What is this all about?
Well, the taxable bucket is when you put things into a vehicle, like your, pretty much everything. It requires you to pay taxes on things that you are doing. So any kind of account, like an investment, it's going to be taxed at the end of the year. You're going to get, I don't know if anybody's ever had like a 1099 from maybe a stock or something, like especially if you've taken any money out from it, that counts as income. And so, yeah, you put your money into this vehicle to grow your money, but then if you use any of it or if it grows too much, then you're going to get a 1099 and that's going to count towards your income. So, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So exactly what she mentioned. And the way you know this is, as she said, so at the end of the year, you know, we have to start preparing for taxes. Is tax season right now? Is tax season, and we're doing our taxes for last year's income, right? And so when we put our money aside for savings, either in a savings account, a CD, stock market, bonds, just what she had mentioned, our money is going to grow. And whatever growth we have, we need to pay taxes on. So if you have an income of $80,000 a year, and then you had $5,000 in growth, well, now you have an income that you have to fill out taxes on for $85,000. And the reality is that that growth, you're paying taxes on it. So whatever percentage they offer you is truly not 100% growth. And I just want to give an example. Let's say you have $100,000 in a CD, right? And you sit those aside because you want it to, grow, and you want to have it there for an emergency. And they give you 2%. So at the end of the year, you should have, let's see if my math is mathing, $102,000. Yes? However, now those $2,000, you add that to your taxes. And let's say that you're at a tax bracket of 24%. And you're in a state that you also have to pay state taxes. Heather, you're in Florida. Do you pay state taxes in Florida?
No.
No? Only federal taxes?
Only, yeah.
Okay. So Texas, I'm in Texas, and we also only pay federal, but there's many states that you pay both. So let's just put the example, you pay taxes federal and you pay taxes state. So state is 6%, you got 30% there. So really of those $2,000, you're only going to be seeing 1,400. And so you really didn't get a 2%. You got a 1.4%. So this is what taxable bucket is. Now, Heather, why would we put money in a taxable bucket? What's the benefit of having money there?
The liquidity. A lot of people, they put it, they might want to earn a little bit extra. So they might do like a CD and they'll know that they can get it in 12 months or 10 months or whatever the rate is that you can get the different ones, or your savings account. I know, like, for a little while, personally, like my girls and I, American Express had a savings account instead of our bank because they were paying 4%. So we started putting it in there, and we did that for a little while, and all three of our, savings accounts grew. And then we went on vacation, we took it all out, and then we got our 1099, like, hey, you earned this much money. And it was like, okay, well, that was great. It wasn't a ton, but it's still like something you just don't think about when you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to save my money so that I can use it for vacation, and it's going to grow at this percent, and it's better than the bank. And then you take it out, and then obviously it's taxable income when you do that. So
absolutely. Now, you just said we don't think about it. So I want to ask you, do you think we can get to a tax-free retirement by luck, by chance, or just by not planning? Do you think that that's something we can achieve?
Absolutely not. No. And I think that that's why a lot of people are shell-shocked when they get to retirement age. Sort of like, because this was several years ago when we did that savings account before I started really digging into the different types of tax buckets. People will overfund things like 401k, or they're gonna buy a ton of stock and they're gonna watch it grow and grow and grow, and then they're gonna be at retirement age and think they can pull it all out. And the unfortunate thing is that that's going to be an income. So it really affects more things than just your taxes. It will affect your Social Security as well. So it's something you definitely have to pay attention to, or find someone that can help you understand it if that's not really your jam.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. Because this is why we're here. We're here because we don't think about it. We do not think about retirement. We should start planning retirement as soon as we start working. As soon as you start working at 18, 20, 21, you have to start planning for it, because in a blink of an eye, we're already at retirement age, or we have less than 10 years. And what can you really do in less than 10 years? Not much. And so we want to make you aware talking about this. So we've talked about the taxable bucket. Basically, you get a 1099 at the end of the year. It is added to your current income for that year, and you have to pay for it. You have to pay IRS for the growth you had with that money. Now, I want to go ahead and move on to a tax deferred or qualified, it's another term, bucket. What does that actually mean? And let's talk a little bit about that. So, Heather, when you hear tax deferred bucket or qualified, what does that mean? What is your opinion on that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I'm just going to tell you the way that I learned about tax deferred, and that was a story about farming. And so a farmer is going to plant his crops, and he's going to wait for the harvest, right? So you're waiting all season. And then you have all of your crops ready to harvest. But then Uncle Sam is going to come over and say, "Oh, thank you so much for doing such work. I'm going to take 30% of what you just did." So you're planting the seeds, and you're growing and tending to all of those years or seasons of hard work, and then they literally show up at your door at harvest time and say, "Oh, well, thank you, but 30% of it belongs to us," or sometimes even more, depending. So that's sort of how I'm a very visual person, and I like stories that kind of sink in. So to me, I mean, it kind of sounds a little bit basic, but it really helps me understand like the visual part of what that means.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can all understand that analogy. That basically you are going to pay on the growth. It goes kind of hand in hand, but not necessarily. So, what are these accounts? So I'm going to go ahead and explain, because these are the most common ones. So when we say tax deferred, what this actually means is that you have not paid taxes for that money. You have deferred the taxes for a future date, also called a qualified account. Why? Because it is qualified to be taxed in the future. So what you do when you take these accounts, and I'm just going to mention them because a lot of us, that's what we know. It is a 401k, a 403b, that is if you are a teacher like us, or you work in a public system, or if you're a government employee, it could be a 457, right? And these three accounts, what they do is that they take that money out of your income before taxes. So they lower your income because you have not paid taxes on those. And they sit them aside in an account that is supposed to grow. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, right? But the expectation is I'm saving aside for my retirement, and it is going to grow. But that money is growing tax deferred. So what's happening is that you're going into a relationship, a business relationship with the IRS. You are telling the IRS, "Hey, we're in business. We have a partnership. And right now, I am putting this money aside, and I'm not paying you. I'm going to pay you later." But Heather, in that relationship between the IRS and that taxpayer, who actually has more control?
The IRS has more control.
Absolutely. The IRS has more control.
They
Why?
want their money.
Yep. They want their money. And why do they have more control? Well, let me give you an example. Do you control when taxes rise?
No.
No. Do you have immediate access to this money that is in a 401k, 403b, or a 457?
No, unless you want to pay a really nice penalty for taking your money out.
Okay. And before you start getting your benefits, who decides what amount you receive?
Oh, the government.
The government.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So what happens with these tax deferred accounts or qualified accounts is that you don't have control. You have zero control of your money. You are letting the government decide when you can have your money, when you can use it and access it, how much are you going to get, and how much taxes are you going to pay? Because you're going to be paying taxes in the future. And Heather, do you think taxes are going to be more or less than what they are now?
Oh, they're going to be more. They're going to be more. They're going to go up.
Why do you think they're going to
go up? Well, the cost of living is going up and they want their money. That's just, we've had fluctuations, but I just don't see it going down. I really just don't see it going down.
I agree. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just don't, I mean, because that would be too easy or too kind. Is that bad? It's like, yeah, you know what? We're only going to take 10% of your 401k, not 45. That's fine. You know, so it's like, I just don't see that, you know, grace being something we are going to see in the future at all.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I do. Inflation is a reality. The cost of living is tremendous. You know, I moved here to Texas, I want to say almost 9 years ago, and a gallon of milk was less than $1. And now it's almost $4. I know it's more expensive over there in Florida. And not only that, we have a national debt that is over 34 or 35 trillion dollars. And we have obligations. We talked about this in our previous live, and this is chapter 1. We have Social Security obligations and Medicare obligations and Medicaid obligations that we just don't have funds for as a nation.
Right.
And so if the government doesn't have more revenue and they need more money, then how are they going to do that?
Right.
How are they going to balance the book? Taxes. That is the only way the government can balance the book. They need to, in the future, raise the taxes. And so when you set aside money in these qualified accounts, qualified to be taxes, and defer paying now, you are basically leaving your money to chance and letting them control how much you receive. Now, I also want to talk about what are the benefits of paying now and not putting our money aside in these tax deferred versus paying later, especially when we are talking about families, individuals. So, Heather, what's the benefit for me, you, and anybody that's watching to pay taxes now instead of paying taxes later?
Well, I mean, when you pay taxes now, for me, like the simple of it is when I pay the taxes now, I know exactly how much money I have. Does that make sense? And then if I'm waiting and I think I'm going to have this money and it's going to be taxed later, that's an unknown number. We don't know if it's going to be 30%, 40%. And so keeping that sort of in your forefront, like you're right in front of it right now, And then as you get older, like you have a lot less deductions, you have your income is lower, you're a little bit more restricted maybe, or maybe you might have a health issue that's causing you to have to pay more for care. And then that money ends up being taxed. So your idea of what is going to be ends up not matching your real life situation. Does that make sense? So keeping your as much money as you can now to put it in vehicles that will stay and sustain instead of being taxed later when you can't really foresee the future. I mean, I can't.
Yep. Yep. I completely agree. No, we can't even foresee, I would say, next year, because it's got, electricity has gone up, water has gone up, food has gone up. And these are needs. They're not wants. You can't live now without electricity. Especially, I live in Texas, where it's summer coming up. It's 110 degrees at 9 o'clock at night.
Right. Right.
So let's just be honest. And you said something key. You talked about deductions. And so if you that are listening have children, you have tax credits today. If your child is under 17, you have tax credits. And you also probably have a mortgage, which means you have deductions. These are deductions that you have now that you're not going to have when you're 65.
Right.
Because even if your children live with you, right? We would hope they won't, but if they do, and I'm Hispanic, so they don't leave in college; they stay. But when you're 65, you can't. You don't have any tax credits for them. You can't use daycare. You can't use if you pay for their school because you have them in private schools. That is not an option. So you are going to pay less now because you have credits that you're not going to have when you're retired. So what's going to happen is that your income is going to be less, as Heather said, but your deductions are not there because your house is probably paid off. You don't have any child credits. And so your tax bracket is going to go up. And you're going to pay more in taxes, probably, maybe, than what you are paying probably now. Because you don't have these benefits that you have now when you're young and you have children. So this is another thing you have to think about when you're setting the money aside, because it's what everybody else does. I don't know about you, but that's when I started working. I started working in corporate America. I wasn't a teacher then. And I had a 401k because everybody had a 401k. It was a thing. So we're all going there. And in my 401k, well, this is what everybody does. And this is how we plan for retirement because there wasn't any pensions. And so the reality is what happened was, and I'm going to share my story and you let me know, Heather, and you share yours, but I'm going to share a few of them. So I stopped working there. I needed my money. And I was blessed enough to get it out without paying penalties. But it took me a long time, a whole bunch of documentation, and it was very difficult. But that same year, my husband lost his job as well in the same company. And we needed to pay mortgage. We needed to pay our bills. And he was desperate because he lost his job 30 days before I did. And he pulled it out. And he paid about 30%. He had to pay 20% federal, and then he had to pay the 10% penalty on my money, on our money. And so there's no liquidity there. We lost thousands of dollars, and we thought that this was the best option because everybody had it. Right. Currently, my husband does have a 401k, and last year he lost, between 2022 and 2023 beginning, he lost, I want to say, over 22% of his retirement money. So he needs the 401k to grow 44% to break even. Yep. Because if not, then we have not recovered. And so the market is now up, but we haven't recovered the over 22% loss.
No.
And these are things no one tells you. You just go blind and let me sign up, because everybody's signing up. It's part of the benefit packet. This is what we need to do. Everybody does it. And so, Heather, do you have an experience that you've lived with a 401k, 403b, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, when we lived, I'm from Indiana, so we've lived in Florida now, I think going on 11 years. And, you know, it was early in my teaching career, and I only had, 7 or 8 years. So, but then when we decided that I would stay home, we're young, we're 25, 26 years old. I want my money, right? Because if I want to stay home, I'm gonna have to, like you said, pay the mortgage, and it buys you time to kind of readjust to a different type of like two household, incomes to one. And yeah, I lost it, but I think being young and not knowing the consequences or the long term, um, I don't know how we would have done it differently, but I think just having someone sit with you and talk with you. But when you're young, and I think, and you have young children at home, you're going to do what you need to do right then. But then I stayed home for 15 years, and then starting over in teaching and, consulting and organizing and doing things and growing my business. It's like you start from ground zero, but then now you know better. And so now you do better, right? And my husband also lost about 23 to 25% last year. And we took a real big hit when we moved from Indiana to Florida as well, because he changed companies and it sat there. And then when we moved, we hadn't sold our house yet. And so we had to end up taking his money as well. So not only the cost of moving, the money that we lost having to, the house there and trying to keep that going until we sold it. And when we took his money, it was a significant hit, way greater than, the one that I had. But then we both started over, and it's been hard. And so when you talk about taxable bucket, tax deferred, non-tax, it can be overwhelming, especially when you're a young family starting out. And that's why you really need to find someone that can paint the picture for you. And then when you come up to those situations, you really need to find something in every bucket, so you're only not pinned into the one emergency fund. Your 401k and your 403b is not an emergency fund, but you and I both ended up having to use it like that because we didn't have an option. But if we had something that was liquid plus the 403b or 401k plus, something else, it would have definitely limited the cost that we had to pay and then start over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, Heather said it best. If you don't know, we didn't know, but now you do. And so take the opportunity and take the time to educate yourself. The information is available. We are available. We have an amazing team that is available. I speak also Spanish. If you have a family member that does not speak English, I can help. But we have the knowledge to share, and we are passionate and educators. We will break it down so that you could understand and you can make an educated decision and not go through what we did, where we lost thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. So it's not only that when you retire, you have to pay, but if you need it now, you have to pay. If you have an emergency, you have to pay. If you lose your job, you have to pay. Because if you don't do anything with the money, your fees are going to eat up your money. You're also putting your money at risk. And if you're okay with that, like my husband likes to invest, he's okay with that. But if you're not, if you don't want the risk, we have options. We can help you with that. The information is available. You just have to seek it. Give yourself the opportunity and don't procrastinate. Like I know I did. I didn't want to hear about it in my 20s.
Right.
No, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm 20, 25, 26. Why am I concerned about that? And now
Right.
I'm doing the math and I'm like, oh, I should have started this early. And now I have a 21-year-old and I sat her down and she was like, Mommy, I don't want to hear about this. Oh, okay. You don't have to hear about it. Let's look at this. And when I showed her, she was like, oh my God, Mommy, I'm so blessed I have you. I wish I had somebody.
Yeah.
These are conversations that should happen at school.
Right.
Because we should teach this at school before you become an adult, before you graduate high school. And they should be happening also at home. We have to educate our future children so that we don't have a society that is depending on the government.
Right.
Because these plans are qualified by the government. They're government sponsored. And so we're giving them the opportunity to decide over our money, when we use it and how we use it. And talking about that, Heather, what if I have a 401k or 403b or any of these qualified to be tax accounts, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that because I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to live over Social Security and leave that there. I'm not touching it. Is that something that we can do when we retire?
No.
No?
They're going to require you to start taking drafts from that.
But I don't
It's
want
not
to.
something. Yeah, you really don't get an option. You don't really get to just let it sit there and just let it sit there. It's not. It's a sad thing because you've worked so hard to save it. Maybe you wanted to, leave it there for your family, but then also in the risk of that, it is in the market. But once you're done with that job, it sort of goes stagnant. And you're going to have fees anyway, like you said earlier, but they're going to say, oh, it's time for you to take your money. And then it goes to your income. So think about that too. You have
Yep.
all this qualified money going into your income. Do you want to know why? You can pay taxes on it yet again, as if the other fees and taxes weren't enough.
Absolutely. You said it best. So it is required. She said it clearly. The government has something that we love our acronyms in English, right? So it's RMD, which is a requirement minimum distribution. You are required by the government at a certain age to take your benefits, even if you do not want to. It is not optional. So you can say, you know what? I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to live on Social Security. I'm going to live on my savings. I have no concerns. I'm not touching my 401k. I'm not touching my 403b. Well, sorry, you have to, because they sponsored you to put that money away tax-free. Well, now they want their portion. They want their money. When I say they, it's the IRS. So they require you to take a minimum distribution of your benefits per year, even if you do not want to. And so if you you can see how you have no control. If I don't want to touch it, they're going to make me touch it. If I want to touch it early, I can't touch it early. They're going to penalize. So it's one or the other, period. There's no, you have no opportunity. You either pay or you pay, but you're going to pay. And so with that said, Heather, is there anything else that, we haven't shared on these two topics that you think it's important that we should cover before we ask if there's any questions in the chat? I mean, in the comments?
I think I just wanted to, not really that we missed it, but if you want to dig a little bit deeper, the Power of Zero book really does break down the RMD. It also mentions provisional income in this tax deferred chapter, and provisional income says that once you retire, really, you can't make more than a certain amount of money. And when you do, they can tax you, and it actually can come out of your Social Security money. So I would just say that it would be ideal for you to borrow, go to a thrift, Goodwill, or, wherever the thrift book place, or get on Amazon. It's a super quick, easy read. It is written by the accountant of the United States of America, like he was in charge of their money for a little while and wrote this book. So the insight is really great. But it's also very easy to read. It's not going to get you lost in legal jargon. So
I agree with that, truly. And as she said, it's super easy, but she opened up the door. So I'm going to go ahead and cover a little bit about that. And then we can wrap up if there's no questions and there's nothing else. So she said clearly provisional income. And I don't know how I was going to miss that, because that's one of the key things in this book. So what is this provisional income? Provisional income is a statute of the IRS, or a law of the IRS, that says that if you make too much money in retirement, and this number changes, but it considers you as an individual, or you if you file joint. And I think this year it's about $24,000, something like that, but it's really low. So if you make more than that in retirement with all the income coming in, so that counts the taxable bucket and the tax-deferred bucket. Any growth you have on CDs, in the market, in your 401k, all of this, you have an income at the end of the year. And so if that income is greater than whatever the threshold, right, is, then what happens is that they tax your Social Security. So not only are they going to tax your taxable bucket, they're also going to tax your 401k, your 403b, or any tax qualified accounts you have. But then the government's also going to say, you know what? You make too much in retirement. And because of this, I also have to tax your Social Security. And I believe the number is they can tax up to 85. Yes. Let me know if I'm mistaken.
No, that's right here in the book. Yeah.
I opened the book. I'm going to squirm, so I want to make sure I'm right. So they can tax up to 85% of your Social Security when you have been paying this. I don't know about you, but my first job was when I was 15, paying Social Security. And you're going to tax me after I've paid over 40 years on my Social Security? What? And so these are things that should be in poster boards, should be knowledge that everyone should know. Again, I insist, I'm an educator. I wish it was part of our curriculum. It should be taught before you're 18, because you need to know so you can plan. And so with that said, Heather, let me know if there's anything else. Did you see any comments?
I just saw some comments. I didn't see any questions really. I went into the comments section. We've got Mirtha, Erica, Sharnetta, Yannick, Tara, and so yeah, no questions, but Yannick says that we need more teachers like you guys that can spread the word to the masses. Absolutely. And Tara says knowledge can truly be a Super Bowl or superpower, not the sports. And let's see, great analogy of paying taxes now versus later with the farmer. That was Erica and Mirtha actually said the same thing. And Sharnetta said very valuable information. So just a lot of comments, but I don't see any questions.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching us. If you are looking for information, if you would like a sit down, if you want to learn more, Heather and I are available. We will be posting in the comments our information. Send us a DM. We're available to sit down with you and just provide the knowledge that's specific to you, right? Because this is not a one size fits all. We just wanted to make you aware of these two buckets because you cannot understand the path to a tax-free retirement if you do not know how you pay taxes and on what do you pay taxes. And so I want to thank you so much, Heather, for jumping in and saying yes.
It's been fun, yeah.
And so just do you have anything else to say, share with the audience?
No, I just appreciate everybody taking time out of their night to, kind of learn more. And obviously, coming from two educators, that is our passion. And we just want the knowledge to be out there, but then also talking to someone so that you can apply that knowledge that you've learned. And then just kind of stay in touch with it by reading books like The Power of Zero or any other books on money or taxes or just whatever your curiosity is. Just really start digging down into it and then changing some of those generations behind you with your knowledge and putting those into action. So we really appreciate your time tonight. We look forward to helping you change your family's future.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. You guys have an amazing evening, and you know where to find us. DM and social media. And if you would like the replay, just send us a message. It'll be available very soon. And have an amazing evening and a great week. Adios.
Thank you so much. Bye.